What's up, viewers, and welcome to another episode of Cheers Reviews. I'm your host Jimmy, and today I'm going to show you how to deep clean and health check your bass. A good friend of mine has recently decided to pick up the bass again, and nothing makes me happier than seeing people wanting to learn and play the bass guitar. So it's with absolute pleasure that I'm able to help out. Today we are working with a Fender Dimension bass, which has had a fair bit of love in the past, but has been sitting in its own grime for the last 6 years. Its overall condition is unknown, so I'm going to run through a few simple steps that you can take to check the health of your bass. Also, just for a little bit of fun, I'm going to do a before and after playthrough, just to show you why it's important to keep your bass healthy. But before we do that, let's get cleaning. First up, you'll want to remove the strings from the bass. Simply unwind them from the tuning pegs and pull the strings through the bridge. You can also cut them if you like, but make sure that the strings are loose when you do it. With those out of the way, we can start wiping away the dirt and grime from the bass. This is a fairly dirty example, so I'm using a random rag cloth first. I'm also using Dunlop Formula 65 guitar polish and cleaner. Spray a light layer of guitar polish and get rubbing. With the bulk of the grime gone, spray another layer of cleaner, but this time using a clean microfiber cloth. Make sure you get into every crevice, nook and cranny. Next up, we're going to clean the frets. I'm using a microfine fret polishing cloth, also part of the Dunlop 65 range. These frets are surprisingly pretty good, so there's no need for anything abrasive today. Now, if you have a maple fretboard, you can simply use a really light amount of cleaner from earlier. But if you have a rosewood, power ferro, or any porous dark wood fretboard, I would recommend cleaning with a Dunlop 65 lemon oil. The bottle also comes with an inbuilt applicator, which is really handy. They call it the Dab-O-Matic. It's super useful. If your dark wood fretboard needs a deeper clean, use the Dunlop 02 fingerboard deep conditioner beforehand. Wipe off any excess cleaner and oils and crack open a fresh set of strings. Today we're putting on a set of Ernie Ball Regular Slinky strings. Feed the string through the bridge. I usually start from left to right. Bass strings usually need to be pre-cut, and here's a quick trick if you have a headstock with inline pegs. The idea is that you want to snip around 2 peg lengths away from the destination peg. This will ensure the strings have enough length to wrap around the peg. For the E string, pull this string and snip. For the A string, pull it up to the outermost peg and cut away. Now for the D, pull it up to the destination peg, and I want you to wrap it around and snip it at the innermost peg. Lastly, for the G, pull it up to the peg, wrap it around and snip it here. Now that they're cut, thread it through the center hole and bend it at an immediate 90 degrees down. Tightly tuck it in the direction of the wrap and get winding. You want to make sure that the string is winding underneath itself going downward. This will help keep your strings in place on the nut, as well as maximize the sustain and tone. Alright, this is already feeling so much better to play. But before we start shredding, let's give this bass a quick health check. Now there's a handful of tools that you're going to need here, and hopefully you can find most of them around the home, but if not, Ernie Ball do a pretty good starter kit for setting up your instrument. Starting with the truss rod, grab yourself a capo and chuck it on the first fret. Using your plucking hand, fret the bass where the neck meets the body, and in this case it's the 16th fret. And with the other hand, grab yourself a feeler gauge with a 0.015 inch measurement. And what we're going to do is we're going to place that between the string and the 7th fret. So when I put the feeler gauge between the string and the 7th fret, the string is moving up a little bit, so what that means is that the truss rod needs to be loosened very slightly. Now most basses, especially if you buy them new, are going to come with an Allen key which is suited to that instrument. On most modern basses, you're going to find the truss rod adjustment right at the headstock there. We've got an Allen key which is going to fit perfectly. Now when you put your Allen wrench in there, you want to make sure that it's actually connecting up really snugly. You don't want it to be loose in there or anything like that, because you'll round off your truss rod. So just take a little bit of care when you're putting that in. So now that that's in there securely, we need to adjust the truss rod in an anti-clockwise movement. Now I only usually do quarter turns at a time. Cool, so I've just given it a quarter turn, and personally I usually like to leave the bass for a couple of minutes just to give the wood a little bit of a chance to adapt to the change. Alright, I've just had a coffee and we're ready to get back into it. So let's take that capo off now. We're going to give the bass a quick tune up. Alright, now that that's tuned up, we're going to chuck the capo back on. We're going to quickly check exactly what we did before. So where the neck meets the body, so 16th fret, and we're going to put the feeler gauge in between the string and the 7th fret. Perfect, so I put the feeler gauge between the string and the 7th fret, and there's no movement on the string and there's no gap. So now that means that we can move on to the next step and have a look at the action of the strings. Alright, so we can get rid of the capo now, we can put that away. So for the next part, adjusting the action, you only need two tools, which is a calibrated ruler and an Allen wrench to fit your saddles on your bridge. So grabbing your calibrated ruler, we're going to put that again where the body meets the neck to check the action. So I'll get a couple of close-ups, but for the E string, basically you want to get the ruler and place it on the top of the fret and measure the distance between that and the bottom of the string. So we're looking for a measurement of 4/30 seconds, and in this instance it's a little bit high, so we're going to lower it slightly. And you can make these adjustments at the bridge on the saddle, putting the Allen key in the screw, and in this instance, because we're lowering it, we're going to turn it in an anti-clockwise direction. So I'm just taking it slowly, doing half a turn at a time. And I make sure that I'm alternating between the two screws on the saddle to ensure that the top of the saddle is ideally flat. A quick retune and we're going to check it again. Alright, so we're going to put the ruler back on the 16th fret, which is where the body meets the neck. Perfect, so we've got the action at the correct height for the E string. So the process is exactly the same for the next three strings. For the A and the D string, we're looking at a measurement between 3 and 4/30 seconds of an inch. And for the G string, we want 3/30 seconds of an inch. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to have a look at the measurement of the string at the nut. To measure this, we need our feeler gauge again, but this time the measurement's going to be 0.022 of an inch. Now with the bass in tune, all you need to do is slide the feeler gauge between the string and the first fret. Now if there's space between the feeler gauge and the string, you need to slot your nut. But these are actually spot on, and I reckon someone's done it before, so we're not going to touch it today. Finally, we're going to check intonation. This is done by adjusting the string length at the saddle of the bridge. The way to check it is to play an open note in tune, and then you want to fret the first octave. Now, if the octave is flat, that means that the string is too long, so we'll need to shorten it. We can do that by putting our screwdriver in the base of the bridge, and because we're shortening the string, we're actually going to be turning this in an anti-clockwise direction. These have a bit of a tendency to not move even when you're screwing them, so I give it a light tap at the end just to make sure that it's gone through. Now, of course, if the octave is sharp, then you just do it the other way in a clockwise direction. So quick tune up, and we're just going to check the octave now and just see if that made a difference. Perfect, that's awesome. All right, now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's see how it sounds. Alright, something's not quite right here, and I think I know what it is. If you have an active bass guitar, you'll have to change out your batteries every now and again. And in this case, this takes two 9-volt batteries. So do yourself a favor, buy a spare set, throw them in your gig bag, just in case. And another tip is that if you're not playing, unplug the lead from your bass guitar because that'll drain the battery as well, even if the amp's not on. These here are from 2018. That's probably why there's no juice left in them, so let's change them out. All right, let's do it. And there you have it, folks. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I can confidently say that it sounds so much better than it did when it first came in. And not only does it sound a million times brighter, it feels so good underneath my hands. Anyway, if you're still here, thank you so much for sticking around and cleaning up this awesome bass. And as always, if you liked today's video, please give me a thumbs up. It's how I know that I'm doing a good job. If you want to see weekly bass related content, smash that subscribe button down below. And if you liked any of the music from today's episode, feel free to check out my other page, Babysitter. I'll leave a link in the description. But until next week, take care, stay clean, and I'll see you next time.